Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 676, written by DortheaGaming, the same distinctive blonde girl. Alright, this is really weird. Last Sunday, me and my parents were visiting my sisters in Copenhagen. We were going to the zoo before eating pizza at my sister's place afterwards. We parked our car near my sister's apartment because it's easier taking the bus. Parking spots near the zoo is almost non-existent. We get on the bus and sit down in the middle of the bus. In most newer buses in Denmark, there are 4 screens in 2 pairs, one in the front and one at around the middle. One of the screens from each pair shows what stop is next, while the other screen plays different ads and news, but without any sound. They were playing some small info about how to buy a bus ticket over the phone. I wasn't paying attention until something caught my eye. I'm really not sure what, but this blonde girl with dreadlocks and 20s, wearing a white t-shirt, appeared on the screen, just as the doors to the bus slid open. And sure enough, the very same girl stepped on the bus. Now I kinda just brushed it off. It's not uncommon for those ads to include normal people like you and me. It was probably just a coincidence that she was taking that very bus. 3 stops later, me and my family get off and go to buy zoo tickets. Behind the glass, handing us the tickets, you guessed it, the same blonde girl with dreadlocks in her early 20s wearing a military green t-shirt with the zoo logo. Now that was weird. But here's the kicker. It happened 2 more times within the next few minutes as we made our way towards the pandas, always wearing different clothes, but the same girl, the same hair and nose. Her eyes were so distinct, her expression constantly firm, freckles on her cheeks and nose. When I pointed her out to my sister, they agreed she did look familiar, but couldn't get a good look at her before she disappeared into the crowd and wasn't seen again, ever. Case notes, file number 676. So this speaks to a pattern for today's stories that revolve a lot around programming, NPCs. It is interesting, it raises many questions. The first one, how many people are real, possess souls, so to speak, the thing that makes us animated and capable of real choice, not just programming. We're all influenced by many things, our own programming, but yet we do make our own rational free will choices. Well, not always rational, but at least we are the ones deciding. There's always a pilot at the helm. We're not being driven along. For this specific case of seeing many times the same woman, the same freckles on her nose and cheeks, the same details in every respect, well, it could just be the universe running out of facial designs. I actually think this is fascinating, and it kind of blends in with my own thumbnail design, where I use an AI-generated program. Well, it's a website, but it runs a program to generate different facial features. It's called Chaos. You can play with other details like the height of the nose or the style, the colors, hues, and everything. I have a lot of fun with it. But it takes time to generate these images. And moreover, this is all from crossbreeding, as they label it, or you take one base image of a real person and then it alters it. But if you asked a program or a computer to generate an image from scratch just with words of text, that would take much longer. In fact, I don't even know if we can do that. Now in the real world, the so-called real world, maybe there was some sort of data corruption, and it wound up being that for that exact moment, there was no choice. It just took from the pool of faces you already saw because they were available, they were still in RAM, I suppose, the quickly accessible memory, and repurposed that. I think the first time you saw this girl, from the ad, it was just a coincidence. It really was a real person, but then after that at the zoo, every time after that, it was effectively an emergency situation for the universe. And it corrected itself in this way. And it makes sense. It doesn't really matter if you think it's a glitch or not. You can't prove it's the universe, right? If there's a developer in the real world, he's not going to lose his job over this. I think he's fine. Just because you question things a little bit, it's not enough to really change perspectives. It's only when we compile these glitches in sufficient quantity that you start to see, yeah, this isn't quite right. Maybe we all need to follow the white rabbit. Or the blonde girl. Case file number 677, written by fairyhoe. Sometimes these names get me. The supposed Duckling Massacre. This happened a few months ago. My dad and I were driving back home on a country road we are familiar with. It was sunset, but the road was still very visible. My dad freaked out because he saw a family of ducks crossing the road, a mother and some ducklings. The road twists a lot and there was a car coming on the opposite lane, so with such short notice, he was forced to hit them. The moment we did, we both felt something big hit the bottom of the car and then saw feathers trailing us. We were both freaking out and decided to go back to see if any ducklings survived. We knew the exact point where we hit them, except when we got there, nothing remained. By that, the ducks literally disappeared. We were both lost and walked up and down the road because we thought maybe we went to the wrong spot, but after a while of looking, we concluded there were no ducks anywhere. At one point, I found a dead duckling near the spot we hid the ducks. However, it was far away from the road and my dad and I were absolutely certain it hadn't been hit by a car. Also, it was not near old enough to produce the feathers we saw. We went back to the car and even drove back up and down the road to see if we missed them, but there was nothing. We left confused as hell, and to this day it still trips me out. Bonus file, written by Extreme Inflation 607, The Rainbow Park. My dad passed away in 2003. My niece was born in 2017. One day I was picking her up from school. They were doing construction on the road we usually take home, so I had to take a back way which took us by the cemetery. We drive by it and she goes, "That's where my grandpa Johnny is." That's right. I remember him. You do? Yeah, before I was born he took me to the Rainbow Park. The only park she's ever gone to is the one by my sister's house that she calls the Blue Park, because, well, everything is blue. There are no parks around me that I know of that I would consider rainbow. The Rainbow Park? What's the Rainbow Park? The one in the clouds. He was really nice and tall and fluffy. Wow, that was nice of him. Did you have fun? Yeah, he lives in the clouds and he said he'd always watch over me. And Mom and Grandma Michelle and you, Aunt Elle. He loves me. I love him. My sister and my mom had no idea what she was talking about. They also agreed that they knew of no Rainbow Park. My sister is also not religious, so there was never any talk of my dad being in the clouds or anything like that. I definitely believe, especially kids, are more tuned to this kind of thing, that younger kids are so pure and unjaded that they are completely open-minded, leaving them better able to see the in-between, for a lack of better words. My niece isn't the type to have crazy stories. She has an imagination, of course, but she won't make the whole story up. The thing that sold it for me was when she said he was tall. She has never seen pictures or videos of my dad standing. We all have the same pictures up, and they are of his face and one of him sitting, but you can only see the chest up, and it's not something we talk about. He was 6'5", so he was indeed tall, but when we talk about him, we share funny stories and stuff. Never have we said remember how tall he was, if you get what I mean. When I told my mom this, she asked my niece if she went to that park with Grandpa Johnny. Yeah, Grandma, we played a lot. It was so fun. I was supposed to stay and play longer, but he said you were all so excited to see me and couldn't wait, so I went down the slide early. Why do I get to see my Grandpa Randy a lot and not Grandpa Johnny? My mom asked her what she meant. She said, I see Grandpa Randy every time I go to my dad's. I only see Grandpa Johnny sometimes. My mom asked her when she sees him, and she said, sometimes when I dream, I go to see him in the clouds and we just talk. But it's not a lot. I don't get to go there very often. My niece was born 2 months early by emergency C-section because she was in distress. Case file number 678, written by Living Good 99. The Doggy Coincidence. I've been on a bit of a binge of these stories, and it made me wonder if I had experienced anything like this myself, and I thought back and realized I have, although not as freaky or crazy as most people. I'm quite a skeptical person, but this always has me at a loss. My girlfriend's family lives a little ways away, and so often I'll drive over to visit with them. Without fail, and I mean every time, when we leave back home, and for some reason, only when we leave the town to head back home, this man is out walking his dog at the exact same position. Now sure, it could of course just be his routine, and I'm not just having a timing coincidence, right? Nah, we're talking it could be 3 p.m. or it could be 11 p.m. and he's still always cutting the corner exactly when we pass, as if he's spawning in. It's so odd. It's like seeing it replayed over and over and always so consistent. We always mention it on the way back and check, and without fail, he's there. I play a lot of games, and I swear to you, if this was happening in a game, I'd be complaining about the lack of NPC variety and programming. One of these days, I'm going to just be brave and pull over and just politely ask how frequently he walks his dog. Who knows, maybe he's thinking, damn, every time I walk my dog, that white car passes by.